Sonic Colors is one of the most universally praised Sonic games of all time. It was praised specifically for pulling Sonic out of the Dark Ages and making Sonic great again, alongside Sonic Generations, which dropped a whole year later. Though when it comes to discussions about Colors, it's often about the Wii version or that god-awful ultimate piece of trash.
That shit is a 2-pack of ass.
But what if I told you that Sonic Colors was also on the Nintendo DS? I know, mind blown. Sonic Colors for the DS was developed by Dimps, a company that was responsible for the Advance games, the Rush games, absolute bangers by the way, Sonic 4, not a banger, and Sonic Unleashed. Speaking of Unleashed, the main version of Sonic Unleashed was developed by Sonic Team for the 360 and PS3, and the Wii and PS2 version was developed by Dimps. The latter version uses the same ideas as the HD version, but it's a brand new game entirely. In the case of Sonic Colors, the DS version isn't a downport or a demake of the Wii version. It's simply a different game with the same concept, which also happened with Sonic Generations and I am also not sure if this is a hot take or a cold take, but I do believe Sonic Colors DS is the definitive way to play Sonic Colors. Yet, I don't see a single person talk about this game at all, not even on Twitter, which is utterly baffling if you ask me. Now let's dive into Sonic Colors to see if it's peak or nah. So, the plot of Sonic Colors revolves around Sonic and Tails. Really just Sonic, as Tails doesn't do shit other than talk about ice cream dolphins being jammed up people's asses on his translator, trying to foil Eggman's plans of abusing the power of the Wisps, and having to traverse through his interstellar amusement park. It's a pretty by-the-numbers plot. As for the writing, I used to be very harsh on it back then, and while I still do think it's absolute cringe at times...
Hey, did somebody here order a clobbering?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
It's really just bland old things considered, and none of the jokes seem to land for me. Except for the copyright one. That one was good. Sonic Colors on the DS reinterprets the same story via text boxes and character portraits, much like all the other handheld games up to this point. It's roughly the same story, but I do believe the DS version it just does a slightly better job at presenting it than the console version. For starters, Sonic's friends appear in this game, and you get to see them when completing the game's missions. At least something from this era didn't completely give in to the Sonic Stupid Friends crowd. You get to meet up with old pals like Cream, Nux, Rouge, and the Chaotix, or how you even get to meet up with Blaze with callbacks from the Rush titles, and you get to see her interact with Silver, forever pushing the Sylvaise allegations. I'd say Dimps made the right call incorporating Sonic's friends here. It'd be lame if you had a world full of spaghetti, burgers, and bananas, yet no one inhabits them. Sweet Mountain's definitely Rod Wave's wet dream for sure. So, I'd say adding in more characters, even if it's just side dialogue, makes the world feel more alive and not like that one episode of Fairly Odd Parents. There are some differences here and there, but the plot is practically one-to-one with the console version, and it's just as simple. But that's enough about the story. Let's talk about the stuff that people really give a shit about, and that's the gameplay. Like I stated earlier, Sonic Colors DS reuses the same ideas as its Wii counterpart, such as the stages, wisps, music, etc. But Dimps made a brand new game out of all that. The gameplay is more reminiscent of the Sonic Rush titles, you know, same art style, sound effects, the game transitioning between both screens, and boosting. Speaking of boosting, Sonic Colors Wii had you fill up the boost gauge via white wisps, which you obtained from capsules or defeating certain enemies. And because the DS version had to adapt the source material, that mechanic had to be implemented. So that means bye-bye trick system. You will be missed, man. I can't lie though, boosting is far more fun here than on the console game. Simply because the wisps are more abundant and all the enemies give you boost here. Not to mention, this game is a lot more fast paced with this level design, which I will get into in a bit. Sonic's core moveset consists of the stomp, wall jump, and the slide, which are all derived from Colors Wii. However, with the wall jump, This only works on specially marked walls, and you can't jump off any wall. The slide is mapped to the right shoulder button. A little weird, but fine and dandy, I suppose. He also has his spin dash and the homing attack. The latter, which being a massive upgrade from the Rush titles, since in those games, the homing attack felt very impractical to use, as if they shoehorned it in at the last minute. Here, it feels more integral and is fun to take out these chains. Unlike another game that released the same year. Evidently, we also had the Wisps. You got your laser, drill, and rocket, all in which function like the console version. Laser allows you to zip past these diamonds in the blink of an eye. Drill allows you to dig underground, swim, and even dig up into Rouge. And rocket... yeah, it's a rocket. So yeah, those are all the Wisps this game has to offer. Such a shame, really. The console version has 7, Ultimate has 8, but the DS version only has 3? 0 out of 10.
What the fuck?
Oh, Jesus. Sorry about that. Sonic Colors for the DS introduces 2 brand new Wisps, the Red Burst and the Violet Void. The Burst Wisp allows you to perform infinite jumps for a short period of time, and on top of all that, you become a sentient screen nuke. Yeah, I stole that screen nuke line from some Call Me Johnny. Fucking sue me. The Void turns you into a giant black hole, allowing you to suck everything up. And just like Frenzy, the more things you swallow, the bigger you get.
Hold up.
This one is so much fun to use, hands down my favorite in the game. You're just cruising through the level, demolishing everything in your path. The Wisps are so much fun to use, and they don't disrupt the pace whatsoever. They increase replay value since, like in the console version, you can replay earlier stages after unlocking Wisps. And best of all, they inject new life into the level design. And since I brought it up once more, I might as well talk about it. The level design in this game is really solid, definitely on par with the Rush duo, but unlike the first Sonic Rush, this one's more lenient with the bombless pits. Thank Arceus. I do believe each of these levels live up to Sonic Team's version, and in some ways are more interesting, like Aquarium Park having you travel down a water slide while avoiding these spiked balls, or Asteroid Coaster, which provides a bit of a challenge, such as sequences like this giant insta-kill dinosaur skull you gotta outrun, the green deadly Nickelodeon slime, or the roller coaster sequence which forces you to lock in and react, instead of it just being a scripted nothing burger like in the console release. Planet Wisp challenges you with the drill sections by having you avoid incoming obstacles and risk of dying. These levels, while not ball-bustingly difficult, do a really good job at keeping the player focused while being fair simultaneously. I did state at the beginning of the video that I think this is the definitive experience of Sonic Colors. And just in case anyone tries to murk me in the comments, let me cook with my explanation, okay? As decent of a game as I find Sonic Colors on the Wii to be, if there's one thing that I always believed that leaves a lot to be desired about it, is its level design for damn sure. It's not terrible, but I can't lie to you. It's mostly bland, blocky 2D platforming that feels drier than eating 20 Popeyes biscuits at once. You can tell Sega was just trying to appease the crowd that didn't really mess with Sonic, because this game really does feel like an honest-to-God Mario platformer that's watered down. It doesn't help that this takes up at least 85% of the game, whereas the 15% remaining, the 3D portions, are often short-lived and scripted. The Wisps are very fun to use, but I feel like the designers designed these levels around the Wisp's abilities and not so much around Sonic's abilities, which means even if you decide not to use the Wisps, these levels are really vapid. And since the game barely has you boosting, it makes levels feel even more underwhelming. And this is where the DS version comes in clutch. Every single level in this game feels like Sonic. Platforming is still present, but it's more fast-paced, and there's way more loop-de-loops, stage gimmicks, and of course, opportunities to boost. These levels are so fun that even if you decide not to use the Wisps, unless they're mandatory like in Planet Wisp, you can have a good time with them, as the levels do a better job at accommodating both Sonic's abilities and the Wisp power-ups, providing a true Sonic-esque experience. There's also less levels in the console version, which is unsurprising since it's a handheld game. Each world has 2 acts and 3 missions within each of them, unlike the 6 act worlds in the console game. 6 acts may sound plentiful, but honestly, each of them are just chopped up versions of the first act. There's even a lot of filler levels too. Deadass, there's a level where you're running around Saturn's rings and the level ends in like 2 seconds. What the fuck? Yeah, I'll take the smaller stage count any day. I don't really have much to say about this game's bosses. They're all piss easy if you use the wisps on them, which is exactly like how Sonic Team's bosses were. Granted, they are slightly better here as the wisps are used in more creative ways, but still, they're pretty easy. Same goes for the final boss against the Nega Wisp Bomber. However, I do like how they reference the Sonic and Blaze fight where you gotta break your DS in order to win. That's cool. We got the red rings in this game just like the console game, though I gotta be honest, collecting the red rings here isn't very satisfying as the rewards are nothing to write home about. You just get concept art and music, which ain't really it for me honestly. Collecting the red rings in the Wii version was honestly a ton of fun, and by unlocking them all, you unlock levels in Game Land, and once you beat all those stages, you can unlock Supersonic in regular stages, which at the time was truly mind-blowing. This is quite the segue because we're gonna get to how this game handles Supersonic. As usual, you gotta collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds, and this version of the game holds special stages. Much like Sonic 1, you gotta beat the level with at least 50 rings to access them, and they're very reminiscent of the Sonic Rush special stages, as you utilize the touchscreen to navigate Sonic through the half pipe, and you have to collect a certain amount of colored orbs before crossing each checkpoint. Since I used the emulator for this playthrough, I hooked up my drawing tablet, and it truly works wonders. I found these special stages fairly easy, though the later ones are just a little bit more challenging, just a little. Even if you mess up, you can restart as many times as you want, so you're not really punished for failing, honestly. Obtaining all of them will grant you Supersonic, duh, but not for regular stages, and instead, it's for this. Yeah, this game has a secret Supersonic final boss, which is ironic since the console version was praised for deviating from this Monster of the Week trope. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Mother Wisp, who actually makes her first appearance in this version of the game, and she even reappears in Team Sonic Racing. That's pretty awesome. I will admit, I was fumbling around with this boss trying to figure out what to do, but once I did, it's not really that hard. You just gotta chuck the rocks back at her tentacles and aim straight for her eye a few times while avoiding obstacles. The attacks are hella telegraphs, and they're pretty easy to avoid. Once defeated, the negative energy dissipates, restoring Mother Wisp back to normal. And that was Sonic Colors on the DS, folks! So overall, I will just reiterate that I think Sonic Colors DS is really fun and highly superior to the console game. It does a great job providing a true Sonic experience while having the gimmicks complement the gameplay rather than stray from it. The story is simple but decent, and the addition of Sonic's friends definitely makes the plot better for me, even if it's just mere fan service. The Wii version, as solid as it is, the game just doesn't have that much staying power for me. I can still play it and enjoy it, but I'm not exactly fiending to dust off my Wii and fire it up every nanosecond, you know? I also think that this is the best Sonic game out of the Rush series, as the other games have a ton of design quirks in their levels, or they just have a myriad of shit that nobody asked for. Here it's just simple, fun, slightly challenging, and colorful? But yeah, Colors DS is truly a solid game, easily one of the best Sonic games ever made, and give it a shot if you're able to play it, if you still have a DS or 3DS. Who knows, I might actually look at the other Sonic entries Dimps has made. Let me know if you want to see videos regarding Sonic Unleashed, the Rush Duo, the Advanced Trio, Gen's 3DS, and Lost World 3DS. The comment section is right there for all your suggestions, dudes. So I suppose I will conclude the video with the typical YouTuber spiel. Leave a like, comment your thoughts on the video, and subscribe for more game analysis. Now have a great day, and I will see you in 1,000 years.